Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So today's upload we'll be talking about that wicked storm that's going to be occurring. I call it wicked not maybe because of the snow or the rain, but just the winds will be pretty strong with this system. I'll show you the National Weather Service map in just a few minutes. The warnings, advisories for the winds are all over the Midwest and Great Lakes, so this thing's definitely powerful. The rain will be there for sure, adding kind of insult to injury. There will be lake effect following this system. There will be snow to this system as well, depending on where you live, and there will be some severe weather potential as well. So before we get into this, if you guys would like to support this channel, that would be awesome. You could do so by subscribing to this channel and check out the videos, see if you enjoy it. And if you are a returning viewer, liking the video would be fantastic. Otherwise, let's start talking about this system. So let's go to I want to show you the National Weather Service map first, so that's what I'm going to do. And notice that we do have all of those colors, that brown kind of nasty color. Those are all wind advisories. I think, yeah, just a wind advisory. The high wind warnings are in that brighter kind of brighter brown, if you will. Also notice across the portions of Colorado there are high wind warnings as well. So, I mean, a ton. This thing, I mean, just I don't recall really a time in the past years where we've had such a large population, such a large area under wind advisories. Not really anything to go home about. I mean, you know, it's just wind. Wind warning is more dangerous, so wind advisory is more of a pesky thing, but it's just fascinating to see how much of the United States is under a wind advisory. Notice, as I mentioned, we do also have a threat for severe weather. This is a tornado watch across much of southern Missouri, northern Arkansas, extreme northeastern Oklahoma, and a few counties of southeastern Kansas. Now, let's take a look at this. I'll try covering everything as quickly, but as detailed as possible, if you will. And notice that we do have a few thunderstorms erupting. These literally just erupted in the last hour, so they will continue to produce heavy rain, large gusts, or possibly even some large hail, but they will more evolve into kind of like a heavy rain cluster, if you will, not really severe as it pushes to the north, and the conditions don't allow for that. Notice slight risk for Arkansas and Missouri. Again, damaging winds, maybe some hail, but again, it seems most likely to be the damaging wind. Also, the rain will be falling pretty heavily with this. And then there's strong winds, you know, not just from the storm-induced winds from a thunderstorm, but atmospheric winds are going to be absolutely strong, and that area is also included under the wind advisories. Let's go to a location like Michigan, northern Michigan. They seem to get the worst. They may get the worst in terms of the wind. You can see there's locations that have the high wind warning. There are many locations that have a wind advisory. And I wouldn't be surprised if they issue more of a wind warning type situation, high wind warning, because of how strong these winds are going to be. So notice, we do also have a threat for snow, as I mentioned, especially the lake effect and that transition. There could be even a few inches, if not more. Now notice that the winds, especially tomorrow and really Sunday, look at that, 50 miles per hour wind gusts, right? I mean, those have happened before, right? But they are still always a bit of a shock sometimes, because it's sometimes a bit overlooked by the forecast. And notice isolated power outages. I wouldn't be surprised. That's likely, especially since the winds are obviously going to be that strong. The snow shouldn't really cause a power outage by itself, but with wind it may. And then lakeshore flooding is going to be a huge concern. I mean, the waves with such type of winds are going to be astronomical. Let's take a look at some of these waves. I'm just curious for my own sake, because I generally know how much the waves are supposed to be, you know, on a normal day, 2 to 3 feet. That's already significant. I don't know. Okay. They don't show the exact, well, they say erosion, soil erosion will occur. So, and especially since the lake waters are higher than normal, way higher than normal. And let's just look at Milwaukee and Madison, similar. And let's see what winds are expected for your location. Again, notice really much of the forecast area will be seeing a lot of winds on that Sunday time frame. 50 miles per hour, 45. In that range, really, most of the locations seeing the winds. Now, if we were to take a look at portions of the Front Range of the Rockies, this is northern Colorado. Let's take a look at the high wind warning. Absolutely, look at that. Those are monstrous winds, and sometimes that does happen. The fire danger, we do have some red flag warnings, which is pretty much a risk for fire because of these winds. Northwest winds 30 to 40 miles per hour with gusts up to 60. That is significant. The gusts up to 60 are, sometimes associated with a tropical storm. So very, very, very significant wind threat. That's probably the main thing. I mean, just a wicked, wicked storm system. And again, the severe weather across Missouri is definitely a concern if we were to take a look at this. I just want to quickly show you this. It's been erupting, if you will, pretty quickly. Put this into motion. You can see in the last 25 to 40 minutes, it has really started increasing in coverage, and that will continue to explode. Let's take a look at some high-resolution models and show you what the forecast is. So let's go back to hour 1 and time this out. This is the HER model. Again, I want to show you and emphasize that this model and all the other models I look at aren't decisive what's going to happen. I was looking at the models yesterday and was curious to see, compared to actually what's going to happen. And even as of today, they're already switched up quite a bit. Even the HER model, which is supposed to be very short-range accurate, it had a few flaws. So pretty much it didn't account for a lot of this development right here across Missouri. It had more of a light rain threat. And then it kind of maybe would erupt into more of a widespread rain event, but no really mention of severe weather from the HER model. But now you can see it's definitely including that. Notice that we do see more rain and snow across Washington and Oregon. Lots of snow, lots of rain coming in onto the mountains. So that's definitely also something to talk about. And again, this will be not a really consistent rain event for much of Illinois, Iowa, maybe Missouri and Indiana. It will be, you can see, we have a cluster of storms or showers come through and then they go. And then we have another cluster come through and then they go. And once it reaches kind of that Michigan area, it really starts consolidating into a bigger, larger rain mass. So that's definitely something that's going to be a bit more consistent and provide longer periods of rain. We do see a bit of snow pushing into Duluth, northwestern Wisconsin, maybe clipping portions of the Twin Cities and into the Arrowhead of Minnesota. On the other side of the border, into Lake Superior, over Lake Superior, we see some pretty heavy snow occurring across Canada that could be falling at some very heavy snowfall rates. And if we were to take a glance at this, notice that we do see several cold fronts developing, right? So, well, I shouldn't say cold front, but several lines try developing. We have one right here that initially drops quite a bit of rain into Illinois and Indiana. Then we see another one, kind of almost two in parallel, riding along with each other. This one almost seemingly falls apart, but then refires as it enters into Michigan. And a lot of this is stretching all the way into the Gulf Coast with these little cells. This looks puny and pathetic. Those things are capable of packing an absolute punch of a storm. And flooding seems to be the, or not flooding, heavy rain seems to be the biggest case. But again, this is quick moving, especially across the south. Really, the whole storm is quick moving. The flooding won't be a risk, but the heavy rain still going to be falling heavily. So, and then notice as this pushes into Michigan, we still have more showers, more thunderstorms embedded in this. This isn't really a light rain event. Once it's raining, it could be falling pretty heavily. Again, it doesn't seem to be a large flood threat. These locations are very dry. But on the other side, you can see we have ice, we have snow. So definitely for my Canadian viewers, which yes, I do have a large percentage, more than most would think. And if you're, this obviously now is around 2 o'clock Sunday, really a bit earlier, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. This is now 1 o'clock in the afternoon Sunday, and you can see this is what it looks like. We could see some thunderstorm developing. And notice these little tiny isobars, these packed lines. The reason for that is, well, because there's a low pressure right here, there's a high pressure standard right there. These two work in parallel, and they are definitely bringing in very strong winds. And this is why this storm is so expansive with its winds. It's not just because it's strong, it is, right? But it's also working with a high pressure from this side and that side, causing more wind. If there was no high pressure on both sides to work with, then the storm would probably only have a radius of the strongest winds, maybe not even reaching into Chicago, kind of like what I outlined right here. But because of the high pressure working together, these two things kind of like almost like magnets, they kind of repel each other, and it just causes this really, really strong flow of winds all throughout the Northeast, the Midwest. And in case you're wondering, into Colorado, you could see that that is also a thing. It's very strong, and that's really from the low pressure where it is right now and the high pressure across the mountains. So definitely some strong winds are obviously there as well. take a look at the total snowfall. This is only through tomorrow at around 2 o'clock in the afternoon for Eastern Central Standard Time, to 1 o'clock depending. Notice pretty heavy across Canada and into portions of the Arrowhead, maybe even seeing a few inches. And the models may be underestimating the snowfall. So, again, a lot more will be falling across Quebec, except that this model doesn't go out that far. If we were to take a look at the total accumulated precipitation, which counts in the snow and the rain, notice we do see quite a bit of rain, actually, occurring across Michigan, Indiana, Illinois. Now, again, a lot of these locations are a bit dry, so this is definitely good news. And it doesn't seem to be a flooding event. Though, again, if you get a few thunderstorms and you're unlucky and you get them kind of over the course of a day, 3 or 4 thunderstorms with heavier rain where it sets up, you could have some flooding issues. But the main flooding is the lakeshore flooding with these strong winds. That will be the main concern, aside from the winds. The winds, the lakeshore flooding is almost a direct result of that. But then the rain itself is also kind of a third component to that threat. There's always, with a big storm, there's always many threats, unfortunately, and that's what makes them chaotic, but, you know, that's just the way it is. It's never just one-sided, or usually isn't, maybe not never. Notice that in terms of the NAM 12KM, it really doesn't show a lot of the rain across the Illinois, Wisconsin, Iowa area. It kind of shifts that to the south. Again, that is model differences. They always differ with each other, and we'll just have to see which one's more accurate in the end. At this point, I wish I could say which one's more accurate. I'm leaning something more towards the HER model, since that one doesn't go out as far and is usually a bit more accurate, but again, that doesn't really justify everything. And this is the total event with the NAM model. Since it goes out further, it could encapsulate this whole system. And in terms of the total snowfall, you can see that it does blossom over southeastern Canada quite a bit. Do apologize about the squeaking chair. Cities like Quebec could also be seeing a few inches of snow out of that. Even the southern Canadian cities could be getting a bit of snow, but cities like Toronto, most likely not, and any of the large U.S. cities from this storm, not really. But what the storm leaves behind is an atmosphere that blows winds from the north and west, so a lot of lake effect will get kicked up. And again, these models, the NAM and really few models, are good at predicting lake effect, and sometimes it's like a thunderstorm event. You know, it's really hard to predict, but if it does occur, then it could fall heavily and exceed any predictions. Now, it doesn't seem to be super conducive for extremely heavy amounts, but definitely I would say up to half a foot across portions of Michigan, the UP, and even into portions of Lake Ontario and Erie are not out of the question. Now, I want to go back to, no, never mind, because I was going to show you the 836-hour run, but this is really more than a few hours old, and I preferably don't look at that type of stuff because it just usually is a bit too old. This is what it showed in terms of snowfall for the majority of the event. In terms of rain, or at least for the western Great Lakes, it's still going on across the eastern Great Lakes, as you can see. But this is what the radar looks like. I wanted to show you the total accumulated precipitation. So you can see there's definitely been more of a northern shift, if you will, with the precipitation from the HER model. So that's a bit interesting to see. Maybe because of that, there could be a bit more snow across Minnesota and Wisconsin. I feel like some of the models are underdoing that a bit. The GFS, I'll run through quickly some of the global models. This is the total precipitation outlook. Again, most of this will be falling, if you're wondering. Most of this will be falling tonight. The rest of today, tonight, Sunday, and into Monday morning, and into Monday evening. By the time it's late Tuesday, or late Monday, early Tuesday, this storm is mostly over. This is the GFS precip outlook. There are quite a bit of differences from the higher resolution model, especially the HER model. Total snowfall, you can see it is definitely there. It shows some lake effect that may be underdone, and I feel like there will be more snow across Canada than what the GFS shows. I feel like Canadian does a better job of showing those higher amounts. Does show some lake effect, and again, some of the larger Canadian cities lined up across the south may be in for a few inches of snow. Again, though, this is a rain-snow type event, so these things are notoriously hard to predict and always have been and most likely will be in the future. If we were to take a look at another model, the GFS, let's actually quickly show you the total accumulated precipitation, as that's what I've been doing with most models. Kind of a combination of the HER and the NAM and the GFS, showing a bit more to the north, but generally, again, this will be you will see rain. It's just a matter of how much, and I'm hoping we do see quite a bit because I need my leaves to get wet because I use this composting method where I turn leaves into leaf mold on my raised beds. pretty much just create soil out of leaves and organic matter, and I need it to be wet because it's cold composting and it wouldn't work if it's not dry. GFS parallel shows similar to what the Canadian shows, actually almost very, very similar. Total snowfall, you can see also generally the same, a bit more across northern Maine and into portions of the southeast. And again, the lake effect does get kicked up. I do also want to mention, I'm sorry I was overlooking this a bit, the Northwest will be seeing a lot of snow as well into the mountains, Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. A lot of rain as well for the lower elevations, and I was focusing on that for the last few days quite a bit, so I do apologize that I didn't do that today. But again, we have a large system across the east additionally, so that kind of took my eyes off that. Let's take a look at the European model now. As I mentioned before, this is considered to be the holy grail of all models. It is accurately usually does a very accurate job of forecasting medium to short range weather, and notice that it shows obviously that storm system developing, lots of rain, little amounts of snow for the US, quite a bit across Canada, lots of wind, and that's just indicated by those isobars. When you see isobars that packed, you know that would be a massive wind event. Now, if there was more snow, there could be brief blizzard conditions, especially if that turns over and those winds occur. Blizzard conditions a blizzard doesn't need a certain amount of snow to be falling or laying on the ground. It's just as long as it's in the air, suspended, and it's blowing around, it's considered a blizzard. Obviously, with such strong winds, that would be capable enough. But yeah, brief blizzard conditions could be possible. Notice a lot of snow just southeast into Maine and into portions of southern Canada. Also quite a bit of rain, and as this shifts out, we are left with again, a lake effect threat. And let's take a look at the total accumulated precipitation first. So this is snow and rain all in the liquid form, and notice we do see quite a bit of that, those colors in the 1 to 2 inch range, especially towards the northern Great Lakes, really that 1.5 to 2 inch margin. The winter weather total accumulated snowfall, again, not much for the US, right? But for southeastern Canada, there is quite a bit, and the European does show a bit less across southern locations versus other models. But again, those lake effect amounts are probably most likely heavily underdone, and I think there will be even some lake effect snow occurring across southern Michigan, maybe into more of the UP. So that's often, lake effect is very hard to predict. Notice in the long range, we could be seeing a lot of snow across the Northwest, but that seems consistent. Anyone else in here, it's a question mark, so we'll see. But as of now, that is it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all guys on the next episode. See ya. Bye.